Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. First Indian astronaut to visit International Space Station, Shubhanshu Shukla, along with 3 fellow astronauts to return to Earth after their 18-day ISS mission aboard Axiom-4. Expected touchdown near California around 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. US warns Russia with very severe tariffs if Ukraine conflict isn't resolved in 50 days. President Trump plans 100% tariffs on Russian goods, sanctions on its buyers, just as he allows new weaponry for Kiev via NATO. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar calls on Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing ahead of Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Council of Foreign Ministers meet in Tianjin today. And India's landmark achievement in energy transition, 50% non-fossil fuel capacity attained 5 years ahead of the 2030 target. After 18 days in space, nearly 7.6 million miles travelled, the Axiom-4 mission crew is heading home now. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is set to return to Earth today, marking a proud chapter for India's space ambitions and highlighting the country's growing role in global space exploration. Shukla and his 3 international crewmates are scheduled to splash down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California around 3:01 hours Indian Standard Time. India's pilot Shubhanshu Shukla, Commander Peggy Whitson and 2 mission specialists undocked from the ISS on Monday at 16:45 hours Indian Standard Time. His mission paves the way for greater international collaboration and future Indian spaceflight efforts.
Reigniting national pride and marking a major step forward in India's human spaceflight journey, AX-4 mission pilot Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, along with 3 other astronauts, entered the Dragon Grace spacecraft on Monday, leaving behind the International Space Station to begin his journey back to Earth. The hatch of the Dragon Grace spacecraft, connecting it to the International Space Station, was closed at 2:37 p.m. IST on Monday. Undocking with the ISS was completed at 4:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. In a social media post, India's Minister for Science and Technology and Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh, said the entire nation eagerly awaits Shukla's safe return. Shukla's family expressed immense pride and joy ahead of his return on the 15th of July. They're planning a grand welcome, reflecting the nation's pride in his historic achievement. The 18-day stay aboard the ISS marks a milestone in India's space exploration. As part of the Axiom Mission 4, or AX-4, Shukla became the first Indian in 41 years to reach the ISS. During the mission, he conducted over 60 experiments, including 7 led by ISRO, focusing on microgravity research, covering sustainable space agriculture, crop resilience, microbial adaptation, and muscle regeneration. The AX-4 mission, a collaboration between ISRO, NASA, Axiom Space and SpaceX, marked India's return to human spaceflight after more than 4 decades. Launched on the 25th of last month, the mission saw Indian Air Force pilot Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla make history. On Sunday, before undocking, the AX-4 crew participated in a farewell ceremony aboard the ISS. Shukla said, 41 years ago, an Indian astronaut described what India looked like from space. And now, people are eager to know what India looks like today.
आज का भारत स्पेस से महत्वाकांक्षी दिखता है. आज का भारत निडर दिखता है. आज का भारत कॉन्फिडेंट दिखता है. आज का भारत गर्व से पूर्ण दिखता है. और इन्हीं सब कारणों की वजह से मैं एक बार फिर से कह सकता हूं कि आज का भारत अभी भी सारे जहां से अच्छा दिखता है.
Shukla's participation is a key milestone for India's space ambitions, particularly the Gaganyaan program. On the 28th of June, Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with Group Captain Shukla via video conferencing. and said that his mission and experience would significantly contribute to India's space journey.
आप तो मुझे भली भांति जानते हैं, जब भी किसी से बात होती है तो मैं होमवर्क जरूर देता हूं। हमें मिशन गगनयान को आगे बढ़ाना है, हमें अपना खुद का स्पेस स्टेशन बनाना है और चंद्रमा पर भारतीय एस्ट्रोनॉट की लैंडिंग भी करानी है। इन सारे मिशंस में आपके अनुभव बहुत काम आने वाले हैं।
After landing, Group Captain Shukla and her crew will undergo a 7-day rehabilitation program under the supervision of flight surgeons to readjust to Earth's gravity and conditions. Rabindra Chauhan's report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar called on Chinese President Xi Jinping this morning in Beijing, along with his fellow SCO foreign ministers. Shankar conveyed the greetings of President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He also apprised President Xi of the recent development of India-China bilateral ties. The minister said that he values the guidance of both sides in that regard. The meeting with the Chinese President Xi comes a day after Shankar held talks with Chinese Vice President Han Cheng in Beijing. India's External Affairs Minister will attend the meeting of the foreign ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China's Tianjin. During the meeting, the leaders will exchange views on SCO cooperation in various international and regional issues. China is ready to work with Australia to deepen bilateral ties, President Xi Jinping said during a meeting with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Tuesday in Beijing. The meeting between the two leaders comes as China tries to capitalize on the U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping trade tariffs. China has expressed interest in expanding a decade-old free trade deal and cooperating in artificial intelligence. Lauding the progress on cooperation under the free trade deal, Prime Minister Albanese said that Australia's national interest would guide Canberra's approach to the relationship. The Chinese President Xi Jinping also held a meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Beijing. The foreign ministers of the SCO member states also had a group meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And what is expected today is the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization Council of Foreign Ministers meeting in Tianjin. And in news just in, according to sources, Indian national Nimish Priyas' execution has been postponed in Yemen. Indian officials have remained in close contact with the Yemeni jail authorities and the prosecutor's office. Nimish Priyas was convicted in connection with the death of a Yemeni national and has been on death row. So this is the latest coming in Indian national Nimish Priyas' execution has been postponed in Yemen. Nimish Priyas, a nurse from Kerala, was convicted in connection with the death of a Yemeni national. Indian officials have remained in close contact with Yemeni jail authorities and the prosecutor's office. So we'll keep getting you updates on that story. The International Solar Alliance will convene its 7th Regional Committee meeting for the Asia and Pacific region in Colombo from today. The 3-day meeting focuses on developing investment-ready solar solutions, promoting cross-border solar interconnections, and scaling up emerging technologies such as that of green hydrogen, energy storage, and e-mobility. A key highlight will be the signing of the country partnership frameworks and collaborative agreements with international partners. The participants will also explore operationalizing the Small Island Developing States solar platform, expanding the star centers to build institutional capacity, and leveraging digital learning platforms to bridge regional skill gaps. A landmark demonstration titled Prachand Shakti was conducted, in which employment of disruptive technology by infantry in strike corps operations were displayed at the Khadga Corps Field Training Area in Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. The event highlighted the evolving face of modern warfare, where UAVs, AI-driven systems, loitering munitions and autonomous platforms are redefining battlefield dynamics. The demo was part of the Indian Army's broader transformation initiative under the Year of Tech Absorption, focusing on the integration of indigenous and cutting-edge solutions from civil innovators into operational tasks. This initiative not only reflects the Army's commitment to technological advancement, but also reinforces its vision of self-reliance and future readiness in an evolving threat environment. You're watching DD India News. Still to come on the show. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zilinski is optimistic as Donald Trump signals shift on supplying weapons to Kiev. Iran says there will be no new nuclear talks with the United States if it insists Tehran to abandon uranium enrichment activities. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas says the bloc is close to an agreement on new sanctions against Russia.
I'm on a quest to explore the history of Goa. A land steeped in diverse and intersecting cultures and traditions.
I think this is one of my favorite pieces of art in the city.
Here, influences from multiple faiths coalesce in beautiful ways. From religious sites to charming villages and vibrant streets. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I am Tanvi Taneja. Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO has handed over 6 strategic indigenously designed and developed products to the Indian Navy. These products include the Gamma Radiation Aerial Surveillance System, Environmental Surveillance Vehicle, Vehicle Radiological Contamination Monitoring System, Underwater Gamma Radiation Monitoring System, Dirt Extractor and Cross Contamination Monitor, and Organ Radioactivity Detection System. The Secretary of the Department of Defence Research and Development, DRDO, and Chairman, DRDO, handed over these products to Rear Admiral Sri Ram Amoor, Assistant Chief of Naval Staff, SSP, at a special ceremony held at the Defence Laboratory in Jodhpur, Rajasthan. Nominated to a new role as Member of Parliament in the Upper House, Harshwaran Shringla has his priorities set. Speaking exclusively to DD India's Vishal Barrister, the former Foreign Secretary spoke about the development of the northeastern region of India and the success of Indian diplomacy against Pakistan.
From a seasoned diplomat to the Member of Parliament, how do you see yourself in the new avatar?
It is, I think, a very singular honor for anyone, to have the opportunity to represent the people of India through the highest institution of democracy in our country, which is the Parliament.
So how do you plan to represent the diverse interests of the nation and its states, given your background in foreign affairs?
Well, certainly. I think we are a country which has, a great amount of diversity in every manner possible. Linguistic, ethnic, religious, geographical. But at the same time, I think we are a country that is united on the core principles of the way, we should proceed. I saw a very good example of that when I was with the all-party delegations that were sent to various countries in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the Srinagar Valley, came out to protest Pakistan-sponsored terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, this is apparently only the second time. Ghulam Nabi Azad ji, a great leader from Jammu and Kashmir, was telling our interlocutors in Kuwait and Bahrain that this is only the second time in history that they have come out to protest. And they not only came out, but they came out in very large numbers, not for 1 day or 2 days, for 8 days. They were out in the streets protesting the terrorist attacks sponsored by Pakistan in Jammu and Kashmir. At the same time, a unity of purpose. And that is what I think our approach in Parliament should be, a critical evaluation on various aspects of the lives of our citizens, whether it's economic, whether it is based on their security, whether it is based on the integration of our country at a global level through technology, through people-to-people connect, investments, trade, etc. All these are very important aspects of the functioning of a vibrant parliamentary democracy like ours.
Now, when we talk about you, sir, what specific areas of legislation or policy do you intend to focus on in the upper house?
Well, from my background, obviously my areas are in foreign policy, in the areas of defense. But I'm equally interested in economic issues, commercial issues, financial issues, management and administrative issues. So honestly speaking, 40 years of experience in government, both as a member of the Foreign Service and that time that I spent as chief coordinator of the G20. I'm also interested in regional development, especially that part of the country which has missed out on the rapid growth and development our country has witnessed. We have had growth, very strong growth in the north, in the west, in the south of India. But eastern India, from Bihar, Bengal, the northeast, has not been able to avail of that level of growth. It is growing, but not as fast as we should.
Well, certainly, sir. I hope the northeast gets an added advantage with you representing our upper house and raising their issues as well. Thank you so much for talking to DD India.
US President Donald Trump on Monday announced a toughened stance against Russia for its Ukraine conflict. He promised a fresh wave of missiles and other weaponry for Ukraine and giving Moscow 50 days to reach a ceasefire or face harsh sanctions. In the Oval Office at an announcement with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Trump told reporters that he had become deeply frustrated with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump's decision to send weapons to Ukraine marked a shift in his approach after the earlier efforts to get Putin to agree to a ceasefire repeatedly failed. Under the deal, Trump said the US will supply weapons that will be paid for by NATO countries. Trump's promise that NATO would pay for the weapons satisfies his demand that the US is not continuing to bankroll the war and puts the financial burden on US allies in Europe as well.
Millions of dollars worth of military equipment is going to be purchased from the United States, going to NATO, etc. And that's going to be quickly distributed to the battlefield. I mean, the 500 is, sort of meaningless after a while because at a certain point it doesn't matter. It's not going to be, 100. 100 is going to serve the same function. But, yeah, I have it at 100%. They may have it, I don't know what they're going to end up with. They may have it at 102. They may have it at 500.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zilinski has made regular appeals to the US and its NATO allies for weapons to help defend itself against Russia. Mark Rutte said Germany, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, the Netherlands and Canada all want to be a part of rearming Ukraine. He said massive numbers of weapons would be sent, including missiles, as part of the first wave of equipment.
I was Vladimir Putin today and hear you speaking about what you were planning to do in 50 days. And this announcement, I would reconsider whether I should not take negotiations about Ukraine more seriously than I was doing at the moment, if I was Vladimir Putin. But when I'm Ukraine, I think this is really great news for them. So I really want to thank you for that. And that means Europe is paying for it. And again, I mentioned all these countries, we will deal with that. And exactly as you said, it might also mean that countries will move equipment fast into Ukraine and then the US later backfilling it because speed is of the essence here.
Donald Trump coupled his arms announcement with a vow to impose tariffs and sanctions on Russia if Moscow will not make a ceasefire agreement within 50 days. The president threatened to hit buyers of Russian exports with sanctions unless Russia agrees a peace deal in 50 days. It is a major shift in policy brought on by disappointment with Moscow. Trump has been reluctant to punish Russia, but he came away from a recent phone call with Vladimir Putin disappointed that the Russian leader appeared prepared to continue the conflict.
I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zilinski spoke to U.S. President after his announcement of new weapons for Ukraine and thanked him for his support. Zilinski said he and Trump had agreed to speak more frequently and continue coordinating their steps.
Генералом Келлогом він почав візит в Україну доволі змістовно. Ми говорили продуктивно. Я вдячний президенту Трампу за готовність підтримувати захист життів наших людей.
And to discuss the impact of U.S.'s proposed tariffs for Russia in case the Ukraine conflict isn't solved in 50 days, we have with us Dr. Raju Kumar from School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Thank you, sir, for being with us. So why has Trump given Russia a rather long time of 50 days to reach a ceasefire with Ukraine before U.S. sanctions kick in?
I think that's a very, very interesting question. And the same question was asked by one of the journalists to Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, and he clearly deflected the answer. He didn't try to answer the question. But since you've asked this question, I think he is trying to offer a few things to Ukraine and few things to Russia. To Ukraine, he has said that he'll provide the Patriot system, which is a very potent missile defense system. But he is saying that he'll not pay for it. United States will not pay for it. This has to be paid by NATO members. Now, the speculation or the media reports from the Western countries, media reports suggest that U.S. is likely to provide 10 Patriot missile defense system to Ukraine, apart from other weapons like 155 mm artillery, also Hellfire missile system, and few other things. So that is the offer that has been, that is the kind of the concession given to Ukraine. But he has also said that this will not be paid by the United States. This would be purchased by the European countries and then will go to Russia. So far, we know that Germany has promised 2 Patriot system, that Germany will buy two Patriot system and give it to Ukraine. Norway is going to buy 1. The cost of Patriot missile system is roughly $1 billion. So 3 are already promised, but a few other countries, they might decide to buy and give it to Ukraine. To Russia, interestingly, coming to your question, that why did he give this 50 days time to Russia? Essentially, he is trying to appease Putin. Let me tell you, what he's trying to say that we give you time, but this would be the time within which you will have to negotiate. And let me tell you, 50 days would be a long time, a kind of a big gift for Russia, because many of the experts speculate or they suggest that Ukrainian defense cannot survive for the 3-4 weeks without the Patriot missile system. So by sending some weapons to Ukraine, Trump is trying to say that you defend yourself for next 15 days, and then probably you can negotiate. To Russia, probably, to President Putin, he is saying that you have time, do whatever you want to do for the next 50 days, and then you'll have to come for the negotiation. So, and apart from these 2 countries, he's giving some warning to the third country like India, China, Indonesia, etc., who import a lot of oil from Russia, and they might come under secondary sanction. So there is some pressure on Russia that you have to negotiate, but at the same time, it could have been done immediately. That if you do not stop the war, if you do not go for ceasefire, we'll provide weapons to Ukraine, and there'll be sanctions to other countries. But that he has not done. So essentially, in my view, he is giving time to Russia. and to settle the issues, whatever. And Russia has turned very aggressive in the last few weeks. The kind of attacks which have taken place. So Kiev is in really bad shape. A lot of attacks taking place through drones and ballistic missiles, and Ukraine is not in position to defend itself, even with the Patriot missile system. Let me tell you, it's not that the Ukraine does not have the Patriot. Ukraine already has, we don't know the number, but Ukraine already has that missile defense system. But given the large territory it has, probably it cannot protect itself from all the ballistic missiles that Russia is using against Ukraine. And also Russia has weapons which will not be which will not come in the radar of Patriot. So it's very likely that the war might continue unless and until these two countries, Russia and Ukraine, they decide to go for ceasefire. Trump is trying to put pressure on two sides, but at the same time, I don't think that this strategy is going to work.
Okay, so is it possible or even likely that the US ultimatum could make Russia escalate the conflict with Ukraine in an effort to capture as much Ukrainian territory as possible before the 50-day deadline?
Absolutely, absolutely. What Russia would think, if you are thinking from the Russian Moscow perspective, so you will think that okay, so we have 50 days, and the Patriot missile system, battery, etc. By the time it comes, it will take a few more days or a few weeks. So before that, we can capture as much territory as possible. And the plan of Russia would also be to push. This would be to kind of to seize this Kiev and also Odisha and other parts in Kharkiv. I think Russia will turn much more aggressive within the time period which has been offered by President Trump.
Okay, very quickly, sir, should other countries, including India, be worried by the sanctions threat against Russia?
I think India will certainly be concerned, but also India knows that this is not the first time this kind of pressure, this kind of threat has come from President Trump, and Trump is known for backing out, and trying to negotiate. So India knows that India will have to negotiate with both Russia as well as President Trump, and India is negotiating. As you know, India is already negotiating. I think my view is that even after 50 days. President Trump would not be as tough as he's sounding now. So he's trying to put pressure on Russia, but again, at the same time, he knows that maybe it's possible that the countries like India and China will not follow the sanctions imposed by Trump on this particular issue when it comes to, because we are importing defense products from Russia. We are also importing a large amount of this oil from Russia. Crude oil, etc. Now it's roughly, we have a trade of $65 billion. So India may not come under pressure. So in that situation, 500% tariff that is used, that he'll in case India after 50 days 500% tariff would be imposed on these countries. I think that's more like a threat rather than reality. He cannot do that either with China or with India.
Okay.
So
okay. So for now, the ceasefire remains elusive. Thank you very much, Dr. Raju Kumar, for joining on DD India News Hour.
Thank you.
Still to come on the show. Artificial intelligence is transforming the way we learn, work and grow. Well, that's the theme on World Youth Skills Day. Youth empowerment through AI and digital skills. Tesla officially enters the Indian market with the launch of its first showroom in Mumbai.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A reminder of the headlines we're tracking at this hour. First Indian astronaut to visit International Space Station, Shubhanshu Shukla, along with 3 fellow astronauts to return to Earth after their 18-day ISS mission aboard Axiom-4. Expected touchdown near California around 3:01 p.m. Indian Standard Time. US warns Russia with very severe tariffs if Ukraine conflict isn't resolved in 50 days. President Trump plans 100% tariffs on Russian goods, sanctions on its buyers, just as he allows new weaponry for Kiev via NATO. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar calls on Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing ahead of Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Council of Foreign Ministers meet in Tianjin today. And India's landmark achievement in energy transition, 50% non-fossil fuel capacity attained 5 years ahead of the 2030 target. EU countries are close to reaching an agreement on a new package of sanctions against Russia, the bloc's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas said on Tuesday, ahead of the European Union's foreign affairs ministers meet from the 27 EU countries in Brussels. Kaja Kallas said that members aim to reach a political agreement on the 18th sanctions package. The European Commission last month proposed the 18th package of sanctions against Russia aimed at Moscow's energy revenue, its banks and its military industry.
Welcome the news that comes from the United States that they will provide weapons to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. Of course, we hope to reach also political agreement on the 18th sanctions package. We are very, very close. I hope it comes today.
Now, EU member states agreed on countermeasures to pursue should the bloc's trade negotiations with the US break down. Joining us with more is DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Chiponda, hi. What is the EU planning then?
Thanks for having me. Well, the EU could target 72 billion euros worth of US imports to the bloc if trade talks fail. There is a list of products based on a proposal by the European Commission in May, and that covers mainly industrial and agricultural goods, including Boeing planes and also bourbon whiskey, for instance. And that list was amended after some consultations with member countries and industry representatives. But it is unclear what exactly was taken off the initial list. The EU has been quite cagey about providing a lot of updates regarding where the negotiations with the United States stand. But what is clear in terms of what the EU has done is always show that the door is open despite warning of a potential retaliation. And that is, of course, a signal to Washington that there is room to come to an agreement. So there is, of course, at least from what we see, still some hope in Brussels for a trade deal with the United States.
And what can be read about the negotiations from the latest developments?
The European Union was caught by surprise by US President Trump's tariff threat last weekend, and the EU's trade chief, Maroš Šefčovič, said that his team had felt that they were close to an agreement before, and he did say that the tariffs of that level of like 30% on EU exports would practically prohibit transatlantic trade, which is actually worth more than 4 billion euros a day. And of course, EU-US trade of goods and services is actually worth more than 1.5 trillion euros a year. And that is actually close to 30% of the global exchange of goods and services, at least according to EU figures. So perhaps this is why the EU is still clinging to hope for an agreement with the US. But the reality is that Washington has been the one dictating events so far. Brussels has not thrown any punches. It has pretty much been on the back foot responding. And on Monday, US President Trump suggested that there is not much to be spoken about, despite saying that talks with the EU could continue. So it will be interesting to see whether a deal can be struck by August 1st. And of course, if that does fail, whether the European Union will be ready to implement retaliatory tariffs.
Chiponda, is the EU's approach likely to succeed then? Will they be able to reach a deal with the United States? What is your view?
One of the questions is whether the EU actually has a clear strategy. The fact that the bloc appears to be caught by surprise, of course, is a sign that maybe a strategy is missing here. And it was rather strange that the EU trade officials didn't know that they could get another tariff threat from the United States last weekend, given, of course, the shift in communication from Washington ever since the Trump administration came into office. So perhaps that is why there is also a group of EU countries that say that the bloc needs to be clearer and also tougher in its communication. Now, such countries would actually potentially like to see Brussels deploy its anti-coercion instrument, which could also be used to target tech firms with tariffs and trade restrictions. But the question, of course, is whether all of the EU countries can get behind deploying such measures.
Thank you, Chiponda Chimbelu, joining us from DW Berlin. Moving on now. Iran said on Monday that there would be no new nuclear talks with the United States if they were conditioned on Tehran abandoning its uranium enrichment activities. The remarks came after Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqai said Iran had not set a date for any meeting with the United States. Washington and Tehran had been engaged in several rounds of negotiations seeking to strike a deal on the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Steve Witkoff, US's envoy, had previously failed to conclude a deal after 5 rounds of talks that began in April, while the Omani-mediated negotiations were halted as Israel launched its surprise attack on Iranian nuclear and military facilities on June 13th, with the United States later joining its ally and carrying out limited strikes. Though Tehran has said that it will not renounce its right to the peaceful use of nuclear power. And global weather updates now. First news from the U.S. Death toll from the devastating floods across Texas has climbed to 131. The National Weather Service has issued a flood watch through Tuesday morning for a large area of central Texas, stretching from the Rio Grande to San Antonio and Austin, warning of potential heavy rainfall of up to 6 inches. Riverfront residents as well as search teams still combing the banks of the waterway were advised to seek higher ground until the latest danger had passed. Typhoon Nari crossed Japan's northernmost island of Hokkaido early on Tuesday, the first storm in almost a decade to scale this further north. The typhoon brought intense winds, heavy rainfall, and warnings of landslides and flooding across Japan, including in Tokyo, before making landfall. In the 24 hours through 2 hours GMT on Tuesday, Fuji City recorded 150 millimeters of precipitation. The last time a tropical storm landed in Hokkaido was in August 2016. And India continues to witness an active monsoon phase, with the India Meteorological Department IMD forecasting to receive light to heavy rainfall in the upcoming days. In Delhi NCR region, the IMD has predicted generally cloudy skies and light to moderate rain accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning over the next 4 days. On Tuesday, very light to light rain is forecast, with similar wind patterns and temperatures ranging between 32 to 34 degrees Celsius and 24 to 26 degrees Celsius, both slightly below normal. The weather will remain partly cloudy on July 16th and 17th, with occasional light rain and thunderstorms. The India Meteorological Department has issued red alert for the states of Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh today. The entire Rajasthan is under alert for extremely heavy rain. Heavy rain from last 24 hours have created flood-like situation in Jodhpur, Kota and Chittorgarh. Jaipur is witnessing continuous rain for the last 12 hours. A yellow alert has been issued for today. Many district collectors have declared holiday for the schools due to the inclement weather. Chhattisgarh has also seen places under red alert for extremely heavy rainfall. And we are now joined by Lakshya Arya from Jaipur. Lakshya, Jaipur, as we told our viewers, is witnessing continuous rain for the last 12 hours and a yellow alert has been sounded. What has been the impact of the heavy downpour so far?
Absolutely, the state is experiencing heavy to very heavy rainfall in the last 48 hours. Especially when we talk about the Jaipur. Jaipur is experiencing continuous rain from last 12 hours. But especially what's important right there is the major districts of Rajasthan has been under the high alert. So in the Rajasthan, more than 33 districts have been, put it under the alert. 3 districts, including the Ajmer, Nagaur and Pali, are under red alert, while 10 districts, including Jalore, Jodhpur, Chittorgarh, are under orange alert, while remaining 20 districts are under yellow alert. So we can imagine that what situation is there currently in the Rajasthan. The IMD has issued an advisory that in coming 48 hours, the state will not receive any relaxation or any light rainfall, but major districts will going to receive heavy to very heavy rainfall. The reason behind is the region in the across the eastern Rajasthan and some part of Madhya Pradesh, there's an cyclonic circulation which has been made, and in the region of Madhya Pradesh there's a low pressure created, after which the heavy rainfall is likely to be experienced in Rajasthan and major districts of Rajasthan. Respective to the situation, the major districts are experiencing flood-like situation, including the Jodhpur, Chittorgarh. Even there was information about a person who got flown up in the river in the Chittorgarh. Similarly, some information came out from the Jodhpur and other districts, including Kota as well. So NDRF and SDRF is taking regularly measures and taking regular steps to avoid such incidents and avoid any mishappening. The district administration is also issuing regular advisories for the general people. Take care of themselves, to not go out, to take care of the animals as well. Because in coming 48 hours, as per the IMD prediction, in coming 48 hours, the state is not going to have any relaxation. The precipitation is going to continue in coming 48 hours. The major districts are in the high alert, in the yellow alert as well. While in the Jaipur, district administration is taking regular measures to looking over to the regular rainfall which was receiving in the capital and in the rest of the districts.
Okay, thank you very much, Lakshya Arya, for giving us those details from Jaipur. Moving on, Weather Department has issued orange warning for 3 districts of Himachal Pradesh and warned of heavy to very heavy rainfall in Shimla, Solan and Sirmaur for Tuesday. In the next 24 hours, most parts of Himachal Pradesh are likely to receive light to moderate rainfall, with isolated places experiencing heavy to very heavy showers. People are advised to stay alert, especially in hilly areas prone to landslides and road blockages. And they're also advised to keep their rain gear handy and follow local weather advisories. IMD senior scientist Sandeep Kumar Sharma said that an orange alert for heavy to very heavy rainfall has been issued in Kangra, Mandi and Sirmaur districts.
जुलाई को भी संभावना है कि प्रदेश की जो मैदानी डिस्ट्रिक्ट हैं, जो मध्यवर्ती डिस्ट्रिक्ट हैं, यहाँ पे बहुत से क्षेत्रों में हल्के से मध्यम बारिश होगी. साथ में कुछ एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट है जिसमें बात करें आज 14 जुलाई की, तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट कांगड़ा, मंडी और सिरमौर में हैवी टू वेरी हैवी का ऑरेंज अलर्ट है. और फिर ये जो एक्टिविटी कल भी जारी रहेगी. कल देखिए सोलन, शिमला, सिरमौर में हैवी टू वेरी हैवी का ऑरेंज अलर्ट है. जो बाकी क्षेत्र हैं जिसमें ऊना, बिलासपुर, हमीरपुर है, कुल्लू है, यहाँ पे 1-2 स्थानों में हैवी रेनफॉल हो सकती है. तो इसको देखते हुए इन डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में हैवी रेनफॉल का येलो अलर्ट है.
In northwest India, heavy rainfall in Punjab has caused widespread waterlogging, impacting normal life and leading to traffic disruptions in major cities like Chandigarh, Mohali, Ludhiana, Patiala, Amritsar, Hoshiarpur and Roopnagar. The India Meteorological Department, IMD, has issued an orange alert for heavy rainfall in Uttarakhand. Incessant rain in Uttarakhand has also thrown life out of gear, causing landslides and damaging houses in Devprayag in Pauri district. Due to landslides in the mountainous areas of the state, motorable routes have been totally blocked. 15 July is observed as World Youth Skills Day. Empowering youth with future-ready skills, India's skill mission is shaping a workforce for global demand-driving development, bridging the digital divide and embracing AI-led innovation. A report.
Who possess the ability to change the winds with their talent are the backbone of nations building. Recognizing their capabilities, guiding them in the right direction, and involving them in nation building is the biggest challenge for leadership, a responsibility that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken upon himself. To shape the younger generation according to the future needs of industry and services, he launched the Skill India mission on July 15, 2015. The aim was to train a large number of youth and make them skilled.
आने वाले कई दशकों तक भारत दुनिया का सबसे यंग और स्किल्ड पॉपुलेशन वाला देश बना रहेगा। ये भारत ही है जहां से दुनिया की एक बड़ी स्किल डिमांड पूरी होगी। आपने देखा होगा दुनिया के अनेक देश अब भारत के स्किल्ड यूथ का दोनों हाथों से स्वागत कर रहे हैं। ऐसे में भारत सरकार का भी प्रयास है कि कोई भी भारतीय विदेश जाए तो वो बेहतरीन स्किल के साथ ही जाए। इसलिए हम अपने यूथ की लगातार स्किलिंग, रीस्किलिंग और अपस्किलिंग कर रहे हैं।
The theme of this year's World Youth Skill Day focuses on empowering youth through AI and digital skills. The aim is to reduce the digital divide and promote inclusive education so that the youth are equipped to participate in an AI-driven economy. India is well aware of the importance of AI. As a result, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the central government has trained over 4 lakh youth in advanced fields such as AI, robotics, and data under the Skill India mission. Clearly, skill development is the nation's conscious preparation for the future, and its success will ensure that the goal of a developed India is achieved. Bureau Report, DD India.
So on World Youth Skills Day, observed annually on July 15th, the effort is to celebrate the strategic importance of equipping young people with skills for employment and entrepreneurship. The theme for 2025, Youth Empowerment Through Artificial Intelligence and Digital Skills, highlights how artificial intelligence is transforming the way we learn, work and grow. DD India's Kriti Vadhera has more.
India, young entrepreneurs are harnessing the power of digital technologies to drive real change on the ground. One such innovation is the AI Anganwadi project called Prarambshala, which is a breakthrough in early childhood education, integrating smart learning tools and AI-based monitoring. This initiative transforms traditional Anganwadis into digital-enabled spaces where children can learn through smart boards and engaging activity-based learning.
So while considering the Anganwadis, the importance of Anganwadis, that around 5-year kids of India are starting their learning journey from this particular Anganwadis. So considering that and considering the gaps that are there in the Anganwadi, what we have decided to digitalize that thing. So that even if Anganwadi worker is not present, even the Sahayika can come and at least facilitate the class for that particular day. Anganwadi workers just have to come and switch on the board and everything is pre-decided in the board. Like on that particular day, what they have to teach. Like first there is a poem, then there is card-based activity where they have to Anganwadi worker will interact with kids, also presenting the visuals.
It aims to make foundational education more interactive and curiosity-driven, laying a solid groundwork for lifelong learning.
In India, more than 5 crore kids studying in 1.3 million Anganwadis, and the condition of these Anganwadis is not much satisfying. So we have observed this thing, how we can improve the learning level in these Anganwadis, how we can facilitate the Anganwadis worker, how they can more empowered, how they can teach kids through digital learning. And as we know, national education policy is also focusing on the visual learning part. But these Anganwadis does not have any kind of digital infrastructure. So this is the major cause we want to solve. For this, we have designed this Prarambh Shala, which is based on AI concept.
From children to teachers and administrators, AI Anganwadi is nurturing a new era of learning, and behind it all, a wave of young innovators is redefining what inclusive, tech-enabled education looks like in India. On National Youth Skill Day, the message is very clear. When empowered the right way, with right vision and right skill, the youth of the nation can truly redefine the future of learning. With camera person Ajit, I'm Kriti Vadhera reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
Now, a landmark achievement made by India. India has risen to its commitment to non-fossil sources of energy. The good news is that India now accounts to half the power grid from its renewable sources of energy. India achieved a new landmark in its energy transition journey, reaching 50% of its installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel sources. Notably, this achievement comes 5 years ahead of the 2030 target set under the Paris Agreement. On the global stage, India continues to lead in climate action, promoting equity and sustainable lifestyles. This breakthrough, driven by initiatives like PM Kusum scheme and rooftop solar, highlights India's commitment to climate leadership and inclusive energy growth. Union Minister of New and Renewable Energy, Dr. Prahlad Joshi, hailed it as a proud moment of crediting Prime Minister Modi's leadership for the nation's green transformation. India now stands as a global torchbearer of clean, inclusive and sustainable development. India's Minister of New and Renewable Energy, Prahlad Joshi, delivered keynote address at the IVCA Renewable Energy Summit 2025. Minister Joshi emphasized that India's energy demand is expected to double by 2035, reaching around 816 gigawatt. Speaking at an event in Mumbai, the minister said that if nearly 50% of this growing demand is to be met through renewable energy, it would require significant funding, opening up large investment opportunities in the renewable energy sector.
The need is going to be doubled by 2035. तो बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में हमारा जो 2030 तक आज जैसे मैंने पहले बताया हमारा इंस्टॉल कैपेसिटी बोथ टू पुट टुगेदर इट इज अबाउट 483-84 गीगावाट. So, but requirement will be, you can't imagine, by 2030, the requirement will be almost 817 gigawatts. This is what is the expectation. When we want to generate 817 gigawatt of energy, out of that, even if you consider as a 50% from the renewable energy, so you see the requirement of fund for that.
On to some business news now. India's retail inflation fell to an over 6-year low of 2.1% in June on the back of low food prices. Earlier, India's wholesale inflation also fell to a 20-month low of minus 0.1% on the back of low food and fuel prices. Retail inflation fell for the 8th consecutive month in June, according to data released by the National Statistical Office (NSO) on Monday. In a report by the State Bank of India, retail inflation in India is set to touch a record low in July 2025, with average inflation for the financial year 2025-26 likely to remain well below the Reserve Bank of India (RBI's) projection. China's economy slowed less than expected in the second quarter in a show of resilience against U.S. tariffs. Analysts warn that weak demand at home and rising global trade risks will ramp up pressure on Beijing to roll out more stimulus. The investors are bracing for a weaker second half as exports lose momentum, prices continue to fall and consumer confidence remains low. Data on Tuesday showed China's GDP stood at 5.2% in the April to June quarter from a year earlier, slowing from 5.4% in the first quarter.